And welcome back to Open Your Eyes on this yes, definitely a cool Wednesday morning. We're now moving into our first segment, and it is a conversation with none other than Mark Lizarraga, Senator. Mark Lizarraga, Senator for the private sector. But the thing is this, government and the Senate, they've been dissolved, all right? And so let's welcome Mark Lizarraga in with us. Mark, good morning, sir.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Marlene. Good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for having me on. I guess today's the last day for me, officially.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, congratulations. We listened to all those I wouldn't want to say fight in the House. I'd like to say conversations that you've had with your counterparts in the House. But let's get on into the convo. The Senate, it have been dissolved, and the House as well. But I want to know, and I'd like for folks to know, the role of the Senate and that of a senator. Let's start there.
Well, the Senate has powers that was granted to it under the Constitution. And, they're very important powers to lend oversight, I believe. They call it the upper house. Mm-hmm. And some of its functions include ratification of treaties with other governments, the establishment, we have to approve the establishment of military bases for operations for any military forces. We have to approve the appointment of the Contractor General, the Ombudsman, members of the Election and Boundaries Commission, members of the Integrity Commission. More importantly, we're empowered to institute and conduct inquiries and investigations on matters of public interest or importance, including inquiries into mismanagement or corruption by persons in the central government or statutory bodies, public statutory bodies. We should receive and review the annual reports of the government, including those of the Auditor General, the Contractor General, the Ombudsman, and institute and conduct inquiries and investigations and hearings in relation to those. We're empowered to require the attendance of the Auditor General, the Contractor General, any of the CEOs, and any Minister of Government. So this, under the Constitution, the Senate should play a very important oversight role. Now, the obvious question would be, why have we not been performing these functions? And I believe that it starts with our oath. I think too many people that go to the Senate do not practice the words of their oath, which is to obey and the laws of Belize, protect and defend the Constitution, of course, without fear or favor. And I think those words in the oath are very serious. And I question my colleagues many times, how many of us really show up and perform without fear or favor. And it's a travesty that we don't, because I think, I've said it many times, I think we're failing our constitutional obligations or responsibilities. And justifiably so, many persons believe that the Senate has been used as a rubber stamp.
Yeah. And I appreciate you making that point. That's actually what I wanted to get your reflection on, especially since you have been in the belly of the beast, so to speak. So there is always a question as to the relevance of the Senate. When there was the introduction of the 13th senator, it was seen to be an opportunity to remove the majority from government and allow for some sense of balance and allow for fruitful discussions and possible impactful decisions. We didn't really see that. And so here we are once again trying to talk about whether or not the role of the upper house is being fulfilled, and can we get to a point where it will be, or is it simply a defunct institution?
Well, let's be very clear. this very administration passed into law and promised that 13th senator.
Yes.
And after it passed it into law, it failed to sign the law into effect. For whatever reasons, the Prime Minister felt that he was going to lose control, perhaps. And when he signed it into law, of course, we were very happy, but it came after a long fight. The teachers went on strike, remember, calling for all these accountability and transparency measures, put it as one of their demands. And we finally got it signed into effect. And we certainly thought that that would lend better balance and give the Senate the ability to perform its functions. Of course, that was undermined, as we all know, for many reasons. But Marlene, I firmly believe that the Senate can play a vital role. I read some of the powers and functions of the Senate earlier, and we know that those are desperately needed in our country today.
Yeah.
We know that we're desperately in need of oversight, checks and balances. And this government, the very government that promised to bring accountability and transparency, has not implemented or strengthened or contributed positively to any of those oversight mechanisms or the strengthening of those systems that we have in place. So it's unfortunate. It truly is unfortunate, and we have been the poorer for it. I mean, literally, we've been the poorer for it as a country. I'm happy to see that many of the persons that are now actively seeking office are talking about the changes that we need. I was very happy to see that people acknowledge in the House that, you know, a lot more needs to be done. But, you know, I think that even though the Senate did not, while I was in the Senate, we did not manage to fulfill all our obligations under the Constitution, I believe that we brought a new level of debate and discourse. And perhaps a little more civil, and certainly a lot more detailed. And I think we educated and informed the nation as best we could to the different points of view. I mean, I certainly did my very best to consult and to seek input. And I'm very grateful if you'll give me this opportunity to thank all the people that worked in the public service, or that works in the public service, in the business community, private citizens, that would call me to provide input, to give me advice, you know, to give me counsel, and that was really appreciated, and I think it strengthened my positions.
Well, you know, I'm glad you said that, because I think that that's perhaps one of the things that has been acknowledged over time, that we have come to expect an elevated level of debate in the Senate itself. One, you actually talk about whatever is on the order for the day. Many of you prepare your points, whether for or against, or questions on proposed bills, and whatever it is that you're discussing. And so I think it was great for education in helping people understand the nuances of what was being proposed. In fact, we didn't see so much mudslinging, I'd say, for the majority of the time. In recent months, we started to see that. So that is all, I think, very encouraging as to how debates can be held when people hold different points of views. But I still go back to my prior question, perhaps asking it in a different way. What do you think can be done to give more effectivity to the Senate?
I believe that we have to have a government, first of all, with the will to bring about reform. Because the laws are there, Marlene. We have excellent laws. The Senate is already empowered. But if you have an administration that is hell-bent on stifling and bullying those that try to bring light, that try to bring truth, that try to get details, that try to understand why it is and where it is that you're spending our money. I think if you truly have an administration that is not afraid, that has nothing to hide, then our people will be the beneficiaries of this. I kept repeating, and I have a new line now. Democracy is a contact sport. You have to get involved. Why? Because you pay for it. You pay for this thing called governance and government. It affects you. It affects you every day when you pay high prices for fuel, when the butane prices go up, when the price of anything goes up. It affects you. And I believe that, we today, as a country, have to be very, very guarded in how we protect the scarce resources that we have, because COVID has exposed weaknesses, so many weaknesses, and so many deficiencies in our country, and so many needs, that we have an obligation, moral, if anything, if not legal, to defend the public purse and to come up with systems that are more efficient, that makes us more competitive as a country, and that lowers the cost of living for Belizean people.
But Senator Lizarraga, we listen to these things and we try to decipher as a people, even try to get the understanding. And I think Marlene alluded to something very important in terms of, how you feel about strengthening the Senate. My feeling is that the unfairness of it is the ruling party or those who form the government being able to choose the people they want to choose. Because if the Senate is for checks and balances, making sure you ratify a bill, making sure that everything is okay, and then from there a level playing field for people, why have ruling parties choose who they want, and then opposition party putting in who they want, and then having another selected few? Then there is a 13th senator. My thing is, and I'd like to ask you, Senator Lizarraga, because people must understand, and for me the biggest thing is a buy-in. People have to understand so we could hold people account of what goes on. How do you think would be the best way to put senators in place so checks and balances can be done the right way?
I don't have a problem with the composition of the Senate as it is. I think perhaps we've seen the weaknesses in the present composition, in that if you have one person that's constantly friendly to the government and will not listen to reason, what can happen? But I believe, John, that I'll go back to the oath. We have individual responsibility, even those on the opposition side, even those on the government side, to really look at things objectively and not, my goodness, when you look at the government side, you're telling me each one of them at every occasion had to vote the way they voted in favor of government. They did not see the deficiencies. I can recall one heated debate where a law was written in error and it was going to be passed. And I had to forcefully say, if you guys do this, it's going to make the granting of gifts illegal and send people to jail. It was obviously in error. But it took a lot of convincing, even under those very strange circumstances, for the government to even pull back that bill. Because it is, again, this rubber stamp that once the executive and once Parliament sends something up to us, we are going to approve it today no matter what. And that's wrong, because what we should do is we should be striving for the best piece of legislation for our citizens, for our country. So I think it starts with will. We started on a process. Let me finish this point, Marlene, please. We started on a process years ago of reform, knowing that our democracy is young and knowing that we had a lot of things that we needed to fix to refine the system. And it's an ongoing process, John. But it starts with will. You have to have the will, and you have to have the involvement and the pressure from the people. We need to be participants, active participants, if we want this thing called democracy to be for the people and by the people. We have to get involved.
Yeah, my question was going to be, because you say we need the will. You know, you put the onus back on the politicians, those who we will elect to lead. But it's also, you know, on a personal basis. We've heard from you time and time again when you enter into the Senate. If you've consulted, you speak based on that consultation. If you haven't consulted as yet, you'll say you'll go back to your people. And that's because you are a representative. Now, when you have, whether it is the opposition or for the government side, a representative there, how much do you think that they personally feel responsible for the role that they play in the Senate? Because, you know, from the outside looking in, while they may bring forward some valid points, it's more of just a seat holder than a professional, a capable professional.
I'll be honest with you. They know, you know, because in private conversations, many of them agree with my points of view. And many of them agree that things are not as we would like it to be. Yeah. But they are there appointed and they have a role to play. And that is a travesty again, because as I said, as humans, none of us are infallible. And, you know, so we have to really take seriously the oath that you're there to protect the laws and defend the Constitution, you know, and you're there first to represent Belize. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where we fail as individual senators, that we go there and we don't first represent Belize. And that is a travesty. So it goes back to the individual. And you know, I think, Marlene, that as time, I'm hopeful, as time goes on, that we will begin to see changes, because it can't be same old, same old. That's the definition of insanity, right? So I think our Belizean people are going to wake up. Yeah. And I think the time for change is upon us. Mm-hmm. Because where we've been going, we've not improved our standard of living for our people. You know, are we better off today as a people? Yes or no? You know, how has all this unchecked borrowing and spending affected our country, our cost of living, the crime in our country, our standard of living, the housing in the country, the health system in the country? You know, yes, we have a lot of buildings that for the most part we can't use. And yes, we have a lot of highways for the most part that most Belizeans don't use. So I think we have to self-examine and see what it is that we truly want and expect from our government, because these are people that we send to work for us, you know.
Of course.
When you send people to that house and to the Senate, you send them there and we're given a salary, a very small one, but at least senators. But you send us there to work. We take an oath, and I think we should perform to the best of our abilities, and always for those people that send us there, the people of Belize, the taxpayers.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And speaking of that, you know, I want to get a bit into your personal experience here, because it has been interesting, and I know in conversations we've had over the years, you've always been amazed at how you can meet people in the most random places, of the most of different circumstances and statuses, and they share feedback with you. Tell us about that and what that represented, even when they disagreed with your point of view.
You know, very few people have disagreed. Marlene, perhaps that has been the most gratifying thing. Let me share I made a recent post. There's this young lady who I've never met, and we've never communicated. And she sent me such a beautiful message. Basically saying that she was surprised that I was leaving, retiring, and that they always look forward, the young people always felt represented and looked forward to my contributions, etc., etc. And many people, countless people, have called and congratulated me privately and publicly. And it's always such a joy whenever I travel for people to come out of the blue, people, of course, that you don't know, but they feel that they know you. I know you know what I'm talking about, because the same probably happens to you both, that people, have this feeling of being close to you because they see you on the TV all the time and they hear you all the time. But it's refreshing, and it's very nice to see people display gratitude and to say thank you for the good job that you're doing. We look forward to your contributions, and we look forward to your debate, and we thank you. And that perhaps is the most gratifying experience.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, and I think that people are so appreciative of the work that we have seen you do in the Senate, for another reason as well. Senator, you were the man who was known to always do his homework. You're still known to be that. And it's something that you pride yourself on. And I want to talk about that because, these are not 20-page bills sometimes, or documents that you have to go through when you look at the budget document itself, when you review them. And it is a part of the job, as you clearly said, that you are paid to go there to do, and not just in the Senate, also in the House of Representatives. Talk to us about why, do you feel that this is something that is practiced throughout the upper house? And, it could very well be a position that you go up and you speak of 1-2 things and kind of fake it, but you wanted to know and understand everything in detail. Explain that to us.
Marlene, let me just say that I found the best way to deal with the overwhelming amount of material, and material that you're not familiar with. Yeah. The way I found best to deal with it was to reach out. Yeah. I would always reach out to people that I know and trusted on the different subject matter for any given Senate debate. Also, I must say, a lot of people in the public service would call and share insight and share information and share perspectives, give you a different angle. Yeah. And that was important. And I think that as I became better known, perhaps, and people saw that I took my responsibilities seriously, more people would call. And more people would give me input, because they knew that if they shared something or some perspective with me, the chances are that I would discuss it. Yeah. Of course, I always checked and second checked and triple checked. And, I'm very proud of the fact that very little of the substance that I presented, if any, was attacked. It was always personal bullying and intimidation tactic that was deployed, which is the favored tool, if I may say, of this administration. But that did not deter me, because I knew that my positions were well researched and well represented. Yeah. So that's the approach I took. And again, I really must say, I took the approach that I don't know everything, but I was willing to learn. Mm-hmm. I was willing to listen, and I was willing to do my homework. And it's a lot. It's a lot of homework, trust me.
Oh, we know when we used to ask you to come on the show and you'd say, oh, well, I haven't finished reading it as yet. And we respected
that's another
that.
thing, Marlene. Yeah. I would never, and as you can attest to it, I would never go on a show or your show without preparing, without knowing the material, because I owe it to the people. I don't want to go there and wing it. Yep. So I would always beg your indulgence and say, please make me not talk about that yet, because I haven't read it, or please bring me back another time, or that kind of thing. I think we owe it to the people.
I agree. I can't agree. I mean, I think that is absolutely one of the things that you do when you come here. You ensure that you are representing what you're saying based on the research that you've done, what you've understood, and what you've checked into, and that's what we owe to people. Yeah. But on that point though, let me get to this question because I don't want to lose time. So, you have we've had you on on this show as a guest so many times, and you have helped us, even as the host, to understand so many things about the democratic process. Let's take a moment to look at the moment in time that we're in. And it's interesting when you talk about the role of the Senate and all the powers that it can have and should have, and how we've seen some of it exercised, but not as much, and the level of autonomy not where we want it to be. The understanding of the democratic process, the education of the wider public, the people who have many competing priorities, even more at this time, which include putting food on the table, is so essential in us being able to see the type of country that we all want and deserve. There are, the way I see it, me personally, there are those who are in the grips of the deep partisan divide in the country, and there are those who are developing complete apathy towards the process. Having had the experience that you've had, what do you say to people about how to get more engaged or why to get more engaged?
Well, Marlene, let me first of all say, and this is why I was interrupting you before it slipped me, I want to really thank Channel 5 and the media in general, but especially Channel 5, for always giving me the opportunity to come and share my views and the positions that we held representing the business community, and especially to open your eyes and yourself. You've been gracious throughout the years, Marlene. Thank you. Marlene, I think that leads into your question. I think what we need to do with our people is continue to educate them. You and I have had this conversation. And education is a long-term process, and it's not easy. But the beautiful thing is that we live in this imperfect system called democracy. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, we have an opportunity to go and decide who is going to represent us. And I know that a lot of people, especially in time of need, will yield to the temptation of, or to the necessity of receiving monies for their vote. And that is a travesty because, and in many ways, Marlene, I'm still at a loss as how do we communicate to these people that this may not be in their best interest. They say ignorance is bliss, Marlene, and maybe that's why I'm not as blissful as I used to be. Because the more you know about how we are governed, mm-hmm. and how they spend our monies, and how they put us into debt, the scarier it becomes. And I think that, Marlene, shows like yours is a vital part of this education process. And that's all we can do. We have to continue this ongoing process of educating. Again, democracy is a contact sport. All of us that complain have an obligation to get out there and get involved. Mm-hmm. And we need to get involved in the politics of the country. Yeah. I'm not saying necessarily the partisan side of it, yes. But politics means how we're governed, yeah. The decisions, yeah. The policies. Yeah. So because we pay for it, we will be paying for it. Our grandchildren will pay for it, and will be paying for it for a long time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, after 12 years of governing me, I don't want anybody to share with me their sympathies and say, I'm sorry for you, I'm sorry, what's going to happen to you down the road. Yeah. No, I expect a lot more than that. I think we all expected a lot more than that. So, Marlene, I'm hopeful mm-hmm. that the Belizean people will wake up and smell the roses and see, look, this is serious, and COVID has made it even more serious. Yeah, I'm absolutely. Extremely concerned, and it's going to take a lot of work the next 5 years.
Oh, yes.
It's going to take a lot of work. And I'll be honest with you, Marlene, I realized that, and I reflected on it, and this is why I announced my retirement early, because I said, in fairness to the business community, I had already made up my mind. And I did not want to wait until the last minute to tell them to start looking for somebody new. Yeah. Yeah. Because I really don't want to make that level of commitment for the next 5 years, I don't think. Yeah. I think it's time. I've done my bit.
Yeah.
I did my best. And I think it's time for younger, more energetic people like you, Marlene, to get involved. And John,
I don't think you realize that you're not going to get away from helping us educate people.
You'll be here with us
whether
again,
as
for
a
sure.
senator or not. But we do appreciate, and I want to take that moment here just to say thank you in your role as a senator for always being open to having public conversations and helping us all understand the gravity of the decisions that were being made. Whether that stirred up enough interest or whether it actually allowed for any kind of change or shift, well, you know, we can't use that as a measuring stick, but we know we have helped people to understand and unpack the information. Senator, of course, we did see that others in the Senate did acknowledge your
Departure.
your
Resignation,
contribution as well, including Senator Perifit, who we've seen you get quite testy with in the final months in the Senate. So I want to take a moment to see that.
Let me say this about Senator Perifit. I told somebody.
I can't wait to hear it.
Senator Perifit is just a bear. You know, he's got fangs, he's got big teeth and big paws, but really deep down he's a teddy bear. He just wants to be cuddled.
Well, with that, we got to close off this segment, and we hope to hear from you more, especially as the election nears. But thank you for sharing your reflections this morning. We'll close off just for you with that little acknowledgement from Senator Perifit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tumor.
Take care. All right.
I may finish off by saying to the Honorable Mark Lizarraga, Senator for 2 terms, you know, one would say that, no, that you're pensionable, you want to stop. But I won't say that. I won't say that. I won't say that, Mr. President. I will not say that. Senator Lizarraga and I have had some epic battles, some good battles on the battlefield, but that's what warriors do. We fight. And we give and take, and we disagree, and we laugh, and we argue for the points, but I never had any doubt that whenever he would fight or push for his cause, it was from a genuine position of trying to make sure that we are on our toes and that we are clear going forward for the vision for Belize. So let me say, Senator Lizarraga, if this is indeed your last time in the Senate, and this is not my last time in the Senate, if that is the case, if I'm returned and you're not here, let me just say that I will sincerely miss your level of commitment and preparation when it comes to Senate meetings. You can, I could say the same thing about Senator Alas, but he's not going nowhere. So let me just say this for Senator Lizarraga. If there is one person who you know will read the proposed amendment or the proposed bill, the proposed budget, if there is one person who will go through it line by line by line, it would be Senator Lizarraga. And so your analysis and your positions that come out of that hard work, you and I are always at loggerheads with, but nobody can deny your commitment to the process, your commitment and dedication to being a senator, and nobody can say you didn't work for your pay. You have come here every time, fully prepared. We are so grateful that you can only speak for 45 minutes at a time. But that's all part and parcel of the fact that you do have a lot to say and you do have a lot to contribute. And I'm hoping, that this will not be your last time. But if it is, I think as many times as I've gotten up here to tackle you, to challenge you, I think you are deserving as well for me saying that I do admire and appreciate your level of hard work and preparation for these Senate meetings, and you will be missed, and that will be missed. Thank you, Mr. President. Before I cry,